Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here today. It's an exciting morning. The weather has cooperated. And to get us started, I'm Ryan Fleur with the Philadelphia Orchestra. To get us started, I'd like to introduce two musicians from the orchestra, two of our Israeli musicians, Nitzan Haraz on trombone and Ohad Bar David on cello.
Thank you so much for being here. Two of Israel's favorite songs by Naomi, which is a eucalyptus grove, leading to Mahar, tomorrow, her eternal optimism about the better tomorrow.
That's a good morning. Udi and Nitzan, thank you so much for this performance, really. I have to say, you know, I'm almost 7 years now with the orchestra, and it never gets old for me to arrive here and hear musicians of the orchestra playing in different styles, anything, and there's nothing better in the world, really, than this orchestra, and they are the reason why we're here. So congratulations, and to all your colleagues, my dear musicians here. Good morning, everyone. It's a beautiful room full of wonderful people. Yes, please. Go ahead. It's fine. I don't need to hold it, right? It's okay? No. Well, I'm used to hold a baton sometimes. Anyway, thank you for being here. It feels very early for all of us, but maybe for you this is already bright and sunny because, yes, we have important announcements to make this morning, as you know. I'm the music director, as I said, since 2012 here of the orchestra, and one of the aspects of working with this storied orchestra, which is really makes me proud, is to step into this wonderful tradition of bringing the Philadelphia sound everywhere in the world. So this orchestra has a really long-standing and very prestigious history of touring everywhere in the world, some world premieres that we also did in some territories, and it's actually related to some of the stories we're going to talk about today. My first tour with the orchestra was back in 2014. We embarked on a trip to China at that time, and we still have strong ties there with some residency work and partnership, which go beyond touring, but also being really involved with the community and a year-long program between China and the orchestra, which we're very proud of. In 2015, we traveled for the first time, the orchestra and myself, to Europe. Of course, I had done tours of Europe before. The orchestra did many tours of Europe before. But to be together in halls like the Musikverein in Vienna, in the Concertgebouw in Amsterdam, those storied historic halls where also, let's face it, most of the music we play come from as well, is always an event which is unique in the history of an orchestra and its music director. So we're thrilled in that vein to announce that we're returning to Europe now in a few months to some of those wonderful cities, 6 cities actually in Europe, where we're going to play not only in these historic famous halls that we know, which are over 100 years old and which created the history of music, but also newer ones, which are the new landmarks and flagships of classical music in the world. For example, this new Philharmonie in Paris, which I've played now a few times in, and I believe, in my opinion, is the best new European hall to be built. So to have the Philadelphia sound there will be wonderful. I can't wait. Same for the Elbphilharmonie in Hamburg, which is the new symbol of Hamburg as a city, which took many more zeros of dollars to build than originally planned, and which took many more years to build than originally planned, but which is nevertheless now the absolute symbol of the city, which is also an acoustically very interesting and an architectural marvel. So this will be a great event in the history of the orchestra that we're still writing. Now, connected to the music, wonderful music we just heard, we announced that for the first time since 1992, and only for the second time in the entire history of the Philadelphia Orchestra, the orchestra will travel to play some concerts in Israel. And this is, of course, to mark the 70th anniversary of the country. And as part of the celebrations of this event, there are several cultural initiatives, global ones, and we are proud of being one of them, traveling to the country together for the first time. For me, it will also be personally my first visit to Israel, and I couldn't have dreamed of a better company than with all my musicians of the Philadelphia Orchestra, and to go there for the first time. We're going to play in 3 concerts in 3 different cities there. And we are the only major American symphony orchestra to visit the country this year. And we're only one of 3 major American orchestras to have ever visited Israel on tour. So this is something we're very proud of. Traveling and touring as an orchestra is, it's a big enterprise. It needs a lot of support, and many of you here are the reason why we go there, because you support the idea. But it's always important to remember why we do this. We do this because we believe that sharing is at the core of music. And sharing means sharing your own cultural backgrounds, sharing your own beliefs, sharing your sound, of course, but also for us discovering another culture and having the collective exchange between the audience there and our sound, and our experience meeting also the different acoustics. And this is, in a nutshell, what music is all about. We bring to Philadelphia the best artists from everywhere in the world. We have in our orchestra many nationalities represented. We have many musicians from Israel also. And this is why it takes an extra value for us to go there and visit and make sure that we share our Philadelphia sound to everyone. I want to thank, of course, the Jewish Federation of Greater Philadelphia, without whom this would not have been possible. The initiative that started many months, over a year ago, 2 years maybe, and due to the hard work and the belief in that cultural exchange, and as the Philadelphia being the part of what we call cultural diplomacy between countries, because music is also about this. Thank you very much to the foundation and the federation. Just one final note about the program there. We will be playing music by many composers, Brahms, Schumann, also Oquin, Wayne Oquin, this wonderful American composer. So it's important to bring American music on tour for us. And we'll play with Jean-Yves Thibaudet, The Age of Anxiety by Bernstein. And speaking of Leonard Bernstein, as you all know, I think is the centennial, and it's very important in what we do here at the Philadelphia Orchestra to honor his music. And Bernstein's Mass, which we did in concert 2 years ago, which was one of the great events in our own history, is about to be worldwide released by Deutsche Grammophon next month. So this will show to the world what works we do here, and it's the first time that Mass is on the yellow label. So we filled a void in the catalog of Deutsche Grammophon with the best interpretation of Mass. Of course, I'm not biased. Finally, I want to thank all the supporters for giving us the opportunity to share this universal language of music with so many people around the globe. And we hope that you will follow us on our journey. And if you can't physically be there with us, please be sure that when we come to Philadelphia and when we play here, we bring all our experiences that we get abroad to our stage. And when we're abroad, we have always everyone here in Philadelphia in our hearts. So thank you for sharing this news with me. And I want to welcome back Ryan to say a few more notes. And I have to excuse myself, like those musicians here. We have a tiny little symphony called Leningrad by Shostakovich to rehearse in a few minutes. So thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you, Yannick. We're so glad you could be with us today just before rehearsing. And also a special thank you to Udi and to Nitsan. Again, for most of you, this is... For most, if not all of you, this is likely the first time you've ever heard a duet for trombone and cello. So like I said, I'm Ryan Fleur with the Philadelphia Orchestra. And the orchestra's mission is not just about delivering exceptional performances and connecting with Philadelphians through music. We're also committed to cultural diplomacy, using music to bring people together and cultures together in ways that would not otherwise take place. Cultural diplomacy is why the Philadelphia Orchestra leaves the city limits and why we travel internationally and why we've been doing so since 1936. And through this lens, we're incredibly excited to embark on our tour of Europe and Israel from May 24th through June 5th. Our time abroad includes 11 concerts in 9 cities: Brussels, Luxembourg, Paris, Dusseldorf, Hamburg, Vienna, Haifa, Tel Aviv, and Jerusalem. And in Europe, where we have many devoted fans, we look forward to debut performances at the Philharmonie in Paris and at the impressive Elbphilharmonie in Hamburg, as you heard Yannick describe. And also a return to the storied Musikverein in Vienna, which is always a highlight of our tours when we're able to get there. And the tour also marks the orchestra's debut in Haifa. So in addition to the music of Leonard Bernstein, we'll also be performing the music of Brahms with Hélène Grimaud performing the first piano concerto, Strauss, Schumann, Tchaikovsky, and you heard Wayne Oquin, which is actually an organ concerto, which will feature Paul Jacobs, who's regularly part of our music here in Philadelphia. We're also pleased to announce that we'll be bringing the excitement of this tour to audiences back home through several live broadcasts. So thanks to our terrific media partner, WRTI, our concerts on June 1st in Vienna, on June 4th in Tel Aviv, and June 5th in Jerusalem will be simulcast back to our Philadelphia audiences and streamed worldwide on WRTI.org. So Greg Whiteside from WRTI is here with us today. Thank you, Greg. We appreciate WRTI's ongoing support and also for joining us to produce and bring these broadcasts back. The June 1st performance in Vienna will also be captured for delayed broadcast throughout Europe via Austrian Broadcasting Corporation, ORF. And on June 4th, the performance in Tel Aviv will be recorded for delayed broadcast across Israel on Israel Public Broadcasting Corporation, KAN. The last time an American orchestra visited Israel was 1996. And I echo Yannick's sentiments about the significance of this tour and the meaningful opportunity to travel to Israel during the country's 70th anniversary. And in doing so, we'll be carrying on a Philadelphia Orchestra tradition of celebrating Israeli anniversaries. We marked the 50th and the 60th with special concert programs here in Philadelphia, including a 1998 side-by-side concert with the with the Israel Philharmonic at the Wells Fargo Center. I think it was the Spectrum back then. And we look forward to adding to this visit with our growing list of milestones as one of the most traveled American symphonic ensembles. So sharing the Philadelphia sound with audiences in concert halls abroad is part of our cultural diplomacy mission. It's equally important for us to spend time when we travel engaging in people-to-people activities that showcase the power of music to connect us all. So these activities in residence have really become the hallmark of our tours and have influenced our work offstage and here at home in Philadelphia. So while in Israel, we will participate in a variety of activities that will connect us with Israeli citizens, including students, musicians, and government officials, to share the universal power of music. These will range from master classes with young Israeli musicians to an arts administration roundtable to pop-up concerts on the campus of Tel Aviv University. So stay tuned for additional residency activities to be announced as we get closer to the tour. And we're also delighted today to announce a special patron tour led by our partners at the Jewish Federation of Greater Philadelphia. The opportunity to bring the orchestra to Israel has brought forward many partnership opportunities. Of those, by far the most fruitful relationship has been getting to know and work with the Jewish Federation. With their help, we've been able to maximize visibility and philanthropic support for our visit to Israel. And of course, the Jewish Federation continues to do extensive work in Israel, making them an ideal partner for us. So it's my pleasure now to introduce Naomi Adler, President and CEO of the Jewish Federation of Greater Philadelphia, to tell you more about this partnership and about our patron tour. Naomi. Thank you,
I'm a little shorter. Hi, I am so delighted to be here. I'm Naomi Adler. I'm the CEO of the Jewish Federation of Greater Philadelphia, and many of the people here have worked with us for many years. I see a number of friends and colleagues. I also wanted to thank those members of the Israeli consulate who are here, have already paved the way for a lot of cultural diplomacy. It is my pleasure to be part of this announcement, and I know that the incredible musicians and staff will have an unbelievable time in Israel. We have been very proud to be part of Israel's 50th and 60th. We're even more proud to signify Israel's 70th. An organization that has extensive experience in creating what we call travel with a purpose is delighted to have partnered with the orchestra as well as with Jefferson and many others who hope to come with us. This is our first time traveling with the orchestra. We're very excited about all of the opportunities, and thank you for helping us with the challenges as well. The city of Philadelphia, the state of Israel, they already have a very, very strong relationship. However, we've been part of that relationship for decades. Our partnership in the Negev has brought not only music to the Negev, but health and human services help, which, as all of you who may know, that the Negev region has really needed it to bloom. This tour and patron mission will help that relationship grow and thrive, and also highlight the many different people who make up the State of Israel. The State of Israel is now a hub of manufacturing, agricultural, and quality education. We work together to make sure that every single person in the state gets what they need to flourish, and that our connection with Philadelphia in the Jewish and non-Jewish community continues. We're delighted that Congressman Boyle is here. He has traveled with us and knows about what I speak. We're also really delighted that so many musicians have already reached out to us about their excitement about this very unique part of your tour. I love Europe too, and as the daughter of a music composer, I do know how unbelievable it is to be in those halls, and the music there will be extraordinary. But in Haifa, in Tel Aviv, and Jerusalem, something special will occur, and our orchestra, our beloved orchestra, will be part of that. When they are at the Tannenbaum Conservatory down south with our local Arab and Israeli musicians, we know it will build new cultural bridges, all of which is extremely important to the Jewish Federation's mission. Moments like this are important reminders of how crucial and impactful these sorts of partnerships can and should be. We are delighted to work with so many unbelievable patrons, but in particular, Connie and Joe, your families have been so close to our Jewish Federation for so long. We thank both the Smuckler and the Neubauer families for the special touch and support that you've given to us. This celebration of Israel 70 can be complicated. We hope it'll be exhilarating. We hope that you'll be able to come with us, and if not, you'll follow us on the radio and social media, of course. It's going to be an unbelievable experience. I can't wait to be there with you. And thank you for this opportunity to announce it with you.
Thank you, Naomi. We're so grateful to you and the Federation for this partnership. And we're thrilled that actually part of the Patron Tour, the last 2 days, are going to be curated by Michael Solomonov, who's going to be joining us on the Patron Tour and embarking on a culinary adventure with our guests. And I should point out, though, that while Michael could not be with us today, he did generously supply the donuts. And they're salted tahina donuts that you can't get at Federal Donuts if you try. They're only for special occasions. So at this time, you heard Naomi mention it, but I just want to spend a moment to thank our generous sponsors, the Neubauer Family Foundation. Joe, you're here today. Thank you so much. We appreciate your leadership and encouraging others to participate to enable this to happen. Connie, thank you. You're our other lead supporter, and it just wouldn't be possible without both of the work that you've done. We've also have 14 other individual patrons who've come forward to support the tour, and of those, I know Joe Zaritsky is here in attendance. I'm not sure if there's anyone else, but I know. But thank you, Joe, on behalf of those and others. I'd also like to recognize the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the Department of Community and Economic Development. They're our supporting sponsor for the tour. They support us every year. as well as Team Pennsylvania and the Philadelphia Convention and Visitors Bureau. PHL-CVB will once again be a supporting sponsor this year for the European portion of the tour. And this year, we're really thrilled to welcome a new sponsor and partner to the Philadelphia Orchestra, Jefferson. Jefferson's the orchestra's official education and healthcare partner for the Israel portion of the tour. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Mark Tikaczynski, who's provost of Thomas Jefferson University and dean of the Sidney Kimmel Medical College. Thank you, Mark.
Well, now that I know the donuts are Solomonov, I think I'll break my 500th diet in order to do that. I'm glad to be here from the Sidney Kimmel Medical College here at the Kimmel Center for the Performing Arts. I couldn't be more pleased to share in this moment. It's really quite a historic moment for us, for Philadelphia, bringing two iconic Philadelphia institutions, Thomas Jefferson University and the Philadelphia Orchestra, together to team up for this celebratory tour of Israel. And I do applaud the Philadelphia Orchestra for making this happen together with the magnificent Jewish Federation of Greater Philadelphia. What a great thing that you've brought together here. Jefferson's academic ties to Israel have a long history, and they continue to deepen. We look to Israel because this country resonates with many of Jefferson's core values and value propositions, humanism and entrepreneurialism prominent among them. Israel's culture of innovation looms large for us, and the idea of creativity at the nexus of arts and sciences is particularly appealing for us. Over the last few years, Jefferson has established highly productive biomedical research partnerships with several world-class academic institutions in Israel, the likes of the Weizmann Institute, the Technion, Hebrew University in Jerusalem. Through these scientific collaborations, we seek to tap into Israel's rich ecosystem of innovation and bridge it to our own. And I know a little bit about that ecosystem because I myself am part of Startup Nation, having started a biotech company a number of years ago out of Hadassah and Hebrew University. Our ties with Israel have extended to the educational space as well, with creative student exchange programming that allows Israeli medical students in selective programs, such as the Tzameret program at Hebrew University, to draw upon Jefferson's nationally prominent surgical and other surgical subspecialties, the likes of neurosciences, orthopedics, ENT, ophthalmology, emergency care, trauma care, and so on. With our merger this past July with Philadelphia University, formerly College of Textiles and Science, we also look to draw upon common strengths with Israel in emerging fields such as smart textiles, architecture, industrial design, and looking for partnerships at incredible institutions in Israel like Shenkar in Ramat Gan and Bezalel in Jerusalem. For Jefferson, being an educational partner for the Philadelphia Orchestra represents a unique opportunity to enhance our visibility in Israel, and we will be launching a formal Jefferson Israel Center and use the occasion of being in Israel in June to formalize creation of that global center. We're really limiting our activities to probably about 5 to 7 countries where we'll establish intense relationships through global centers, and Israel figures prominently in that for us. And I'd like to add that this idea of music and the nexus of medicine and music is important to us. We've been driving this notion of medicine plus different areas in co-curriculum at the medical college. And one of the areas that medicine plus design, for instance, led us to the merger with Philadelphia University this past year. But one of the areas we're particularly excited about now is this medicine plus music co-curricular track. And the partnership with Philadelphia Orchestra on this tour will help showcase launching that activity. So in closing, we're honored to help reinforce the powerful bonds between Philadelphia as a city and Israel, and to bring a once-in-a-lifetime musical and cultural experience to the local Israeli community. We're equally honored to be partnering with the Federation, a magnificent organization, as I said, to help mark Israel's 70th birthday a special occasion for the global Jewish community to celebrate 70 years of independence, vitality, strength, warmth, and innovation for this wonderful country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Tukachinsky. We're really grateful for the support and the partnership of Jefferson. So as you've heard, we take at the orchestra, we take our role of global ambassadors seriously. And we're honored to represent the city of Philadelphia, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and the entire United States of America abroad. And we're pleased to have the support of leaders in government, including our next speaker. Congressman Brendan Boyle of the 13th District of Pennsylvania and also of the House Foreign Affairs Committee has been an incredible advocate and friend of the Philadelphia Orchestra. He's a leader on the Middle East Subcommittee. He truly understands the value of cultural diplomacy and people-to-people exchange. And probably most important, depending upon how the redistricting goes, he might be my next congressman. So we're delighted to have you with us today, Congressman Boyle.
Well, thank you. Depending on how the redistricting maps go, I might be all of your congressmen. So we will see. I want to actually make my own announcement inspired by this event this morning. I would like to announce that at all future press conferences of mine in Philadelphia and Washington, D.C., we will have a cellist and a trombone player start the press conference, and then hopefully what comes out of Washington will at least sound a little bit nicer. I think that this is one of the most important exports that we have as a city, the Philadelphia Orchestra. When I'm traveling abroad and had the opportunity to travel over the last few years to several of the places you'll be visiting, and I mention, well, you know, they know that I'm a United States Congressman, and they know that I'm on the Foreign Affairs Committee. And certainly when I'm traveling in the Middle East, they know that I'm a member of the Middle East Subcommittee. But they'll ask, oh, so where in America are you from? And I say Philadelphia. And they'll identify us with a few things. The Philadelphia Orchestra is one of those main things. So this is one of the great cultural exports of our city and indeed our country. With respect to the cultural diplomacy part, that is crucial. Of course, we think of diplomacy in terms of foreign affairs and that aspect of it. But when you can connect to people on a one-on-one basis, on a cultural link, on something that isn't about geopolitics, that is meaningful. And it can break down walls that exist. You in the Philadelphia Orchestra can reach people that I cannot, as a traveling American congressman, with all of the advantages and disadvantages that I'm carrying with me on those trips. I will also share with you that and I want to speak especially about Israel in a moment, but to travel at Europe at this point in time, given relations between the United States and our EU allies, is incredibly important. I had the opportunity to be at the Elbe Philharmonie in Hamburg last year at the G20 summit. And the acoustics are remarkable to the point that if someone is coughing on the other side of the hall, you can hear it. It is really a remarkable, very expensive, from what I understand, multi-billion-dollar project that became somewhat controversial in Hamburg, as my German parliamentarian friend was telling me. But to actually sit there and listen to the music was beautiful. But I also know, traveling and through that experience and through some others, this isn't exactly the greatest time right now in U.S.-EU relations. So to have the Philadelphia Orchestra there as a cultural export plays an important role. And then, of course, with respect to Israel, that is really the most, to me, the most special part of the trip. To be there to celebrate the 70th anniversary of one of our strongest and most important allies. I'm so glad the Jewish Federation of Philadelphia is part of this, and that we have the Consul General down from New York as well to mark this occasion. One of the great strong relationships in all the world is the relationship between the United States and Israel. And to know that the Philadelphia Orchestra is playing a part in marking the 70th anniversary, puts a wonderful local touch on what is an important occasion. So it is so, I'm glad that was able to delay the Acela to the next train so that I could be here to take part in this great announcement with you. And I look forward to many more to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Boyle. So this tour will once again provide an opportunity to promote Philadelphia and Pennsylvania as a global destination for tourism, trade, and business development. And we're quite proud that in partnership with the city and the Commonwealth, business delegation trips on previous tours have resulted in meaningful foreign investment in Pennsylvania and the creation of new jobs. And it's now my pleasure to introduce Joseph Burke, Deputy Secretary in the Office of International Business Development for the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development. Try to say that 5 times fast. Thank you, Jeff.
So it wouldn't be government without an extremely long name. So I will attempt to repeat it during the course of this speech. But thank you very much for the opportunity to speak here. I think capitalizing on the unique opportunity to blend culture and business, it's a unique, something that we can uniquely do in the Office of International Business Development, in the Department of Community and Economic Development, and also partnering with the orchestra and Team Pennsylvania. It's not an opportunity that we take lightly. Just to give you kind of a snapshot of our office, the office that I head, our job is really to increase Pennsylvania exports and to attract investment. And in fact, last year, well, let me just say that we have about, I think last year we did about $38 billion worth of, not our office, but the state of Pennsylvania did about $38 billion worth of exports. And Pennsylvania has, because of our international investment, have about 300,000 Pennsylvanians employed by foreign domiciled companies. So in order to accomplish our goals, we work with a network of international contractors around the world, both to help sell our products and also to attract investment into Pennsylvania. So we have an office, for example, in Germany, which covers Central Europe, and we have an office in Israel, which covers the Eastern Mediterranean. Both regions, of course, are on the orchestra's 2018 tour. We also should say that about 43,000 Pennsylvanians are employed by German companies, and we're very fortunate to have a very active Philadelphia German Chamber of Commerce. We also work very closely with our Israeli partners. We recently signed an MOU with the Israeli Innovation Authority to help Israeli companies establish commercial partnerships here. Working closely with the Philadelphia Israeli Chamber of Commerce, we've also welcomed 5 new Israeli tech companies here to the Philadelphia area within the last 2 years. Nonetheless, to achieve our goals, we need a broad network that goes beyond traditional economic development partnerships. The orchestra is one of those, is one of Pennsylvania's finest global ambassadors. Working with the orchestra, we are able to open doors to new businesses, including prospective investors. We also appreciate the generosity of the Philadelphia Orchestra and the Team Pennsylvania in providing complimentary tickets to senior executives from companies doing business in Pennsylvania. Cultural ambassadors for the Commonwealth, such as the Philadelphia Orchestra, the Pittsburgh Symphony, the Philadelphia Museum of Art, the Barnes Foundation, and many other cultural and prestigious institutions all help build Pennsylvania's international profile, which has a direct impact upon investment and businesses within Pennsylvania. So thank you very much for the invitation to address the group today, and I wish the orchestra a very successful 2018 tour.
Thank you, Joe. You know, it truly takes a village to produce a tour the scale of what we're talking about, and there's not really enough time or space to thank everyone. But just like to thank the musicians of our tour committee. I think they're already rehearsing right now, who really helped from the very beginning, let us design this tour and get the schedule in such a way that we could fit both Europe and Israel into a two and a half week time frame. And also to Ashley Burke and Amanda Olszewski for their help producing today's event. So on behalf of the Philadelphia Orchestra and the Jewish Federation, we thank you all for joining us today. And we hope you'll follow the orchestra's adventures closely on social media and our blog as we bring you photos, videos, and more from our travels. So at this time, I'd like to open the floor to any questions. Or if there are no questions, we'll be available afterwards. We know you all have days to go on to. So thank you all for joining us today, and we'll see you in Israel.